Hey there.
Morning, or afternoon, or evening, whenever you watch this.
Indeed. Welcome to our full moon kind of ritual starting video.
Conversation.
Conversation. Um, we have a chime that we use that we're experimenting with using in our videos, and this chime is connected to the energy of the full moon. So, just start by listening to a little bit of a sound. So, just like with the new moon, there are no right ways and wrong ways to practice with the full moon. But we personally think that one of the best ways to begin engaging with any energy is to kind of come back into this mythic awareness, right? Kind of an awareness almost of how a child would perceive something without judgment necessarily right away. And so, if we're new, like super new to doing any of these rituals, I find coming back to kind of our first childhood memories of the moon and the feeling that that evoked in us. And allowing memory to be that tool that we can ride into the ritual space.
Yeah, I appreciate that as a starting place from a neuroscience geeky perspective that says that when we recall a memory, particularly sensory memories, sound, taste, smell, visuals, not only pick up that memory from our minds, but pick up kind of whatever is around it. There's a couple books that describe it as like our memories are kind of interwoven in each other, and it's the ones that have a sensory experience to them that have a strength that they literally lift up the memories around them. And so that is a really great place to come into a kind of full-bodied awareness, and awe is the word that kept coming to me. You know, that I think it is easier to conceptualize from that child perspective in us of like seeing something for the first time or having something occur in a moment where you were just aware that it was magic. And because you're a kid, you let it be magical. And so I have memories of the moon in that way. I know Matt does. And so I assume all of you, to some extent, can remember a full moon that maybe you weren't in that moment consciously like, this is a full moon, and, you know, but just really kind of like in awe of its light, of whatever else was happening in that moment for you. So I really appreciate that invitation.
Cool. So, allowing ourselves to let that be enough of a way of engaging with the moon to allow it to be powerful. Right? There is no kind of chasing the dragon on this one. We're just trying to engage with a kind of new awe, like kind of awe on the other side of kind of thinking there was nothing that could awe you anymore. And that for me is like kind of as we're reclaiming ritual space for ourselves as adults, a thing that kids who grow up in ritual don't have to do quite so hard, but that reclaiming of awe. letting ourselves, in all of our jaded postmodern awareness of reality, let ourselves come back to, wow, isn't this cool? Which, we've talked about gratitude in the past. I'll just kind of like slide in a reference for gratitude. If you want to check out our article on it, we can. But gratitude for the awe, like how can I feel as grateful for this moment to just be?
And I feel called to also presence that some of what we might find in those memories or those sensory experiences can include awe in that awful
way,
sort of way. That I think Matt recently put out a video about, or is going to soon put out a video about gratitude kind of being overly utilized in a way that like asks you to be grateful for everything, including every hard, painful thing. But, instead of trying to hold it any other way than what it is, just recognizing that that's part of the awe too, is the things that emerge
that are hard,
that are full in your experience of the emotion of it, and might be hard. And striking a balance for me is what's important in holding both. I don't need to hold the beautiful awe void of anything awful, and I don't need to hold the awful void of anything beautiful. It's holding both of them that is kinder to my nervous system. Remembering that they exist simultaneously to each other, just as our exploration of the light and the dark reminds us one exists because of the other.
Bring us into that yin-yang awareness that keeps coming back with this full and dark energy of the moon, that it's always present in itself.
Yeah, and it brings me really nicely to the words that came to me that I felt called to share around the full moon, which is inward fullness. Yeah. So coming off of the new moon, we had done a lot of work about clearing, releasing, and then we had this space to sit with, which for me personally, I really let myself not fill the space immediately, but enjoy the space. And so slowly the moon has been filling itself, but I was holding this awareness of it, not as a fullness that was immediately pushing the light out, but a fullness that was contained and held within myself, a fullness of light for me first, that then radiates from me. And I feel like that really corresponds with what we were talking about, the awe, and corresponds with, just the holding of our light.
I feel weird being the one presencing this. I'll just say that for the universe.
Oh, this will be good.
But there's a pregnancy to it. There's a feeling of holding something that we can all, relate maybe differently to the word or the phrase pregnant pause. Right? When something is pregnant with meaning, pregnant with power. It's an
inward fullness.
It's an
literally.
Inward fullness. It's an inward fullness.
So I think we'd like to invite you to meditate on those memories, that phrase, how it resonates for you. And in that way, an aspect of our work with the full moon is contemplating femininity within ourselves. As we always say, we're not telling y'all how to practice and what energies to align with. I really want you to explore that for yourself. But for us, the full moon has had that sense of fullness, pregnancy, femininity that we've taken the opportunity to explore within ourselves, within our relationships. No matter how you identify gender-wise, it's a nice opportunity to explore concepts like that. Maybe not so specifically oriented to gender, but more in that contemplation of pregnancy, fullness, maturation, bringing something into being.
Yeah. And I think for me, that piece of honoring the divine feminine on the full moon day ceremonies, we try to make it a full day experience, but it's really taken on this quality of I have to do it in myself, but in the way that I think Biz really likes to reference the loving kindness or the loving compassion meditation, in the way that we hold a feeling inside of ourselves, a fullness inside of ourselves that then allows us to radiate it outward. And that for us has really kind of taken on kind of our larger ritual context of on the full moon, ceremonies. We are connecting with the healing and integration of the divine feminine in us, of course, as the microcosm, but then resonating it out to the macrocosm, so that if there's anybody listening out there, there's a little bit of that for the universe, for the world, for each other, and those of us joining together in this time know that we are holding particular honor around the feminine on this evening. So
Yes. And we will be putting out another video very shortly, because this full moon is swiftly followed by our first solar holiday. Which we then use the solar holidays to feel into masculine energies and divine masculinity. But for now, got our sights set on the full moon. I can definitely feel that energy, as I'm sure many of you have, and I'm really excited to move into our second ritual with all of you and engage in sharing and connecting. The new moon for us was really, really, really cool. And we're just so grateful to have you all here and showing up however feels right for you. Once again, we're available to connect and talk and support where and when that feels right for you.
Yeah, love that. A lot of gratitude for everybody. Thank you, Biz.
Yeah, maybe one more chime.
Yeah, see us out with a chime.
Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day.